Today we are going to do the last sutta from this volume 42, that is chapter 23 of this volume, or SD 42.23. It is on page 125, Dasaka, Appamāda Sutta. Now, Dasaka means 10, or the book of tens, Dasaka. Dasa is 10, Dasaka means kind of, you can say, like the 10th, number 10, or the 10th, or in this case, it's a code for the book of tens in the Anguttara Nikaya. Because the second word, Appamāda, which is the original title of the sutta, is quite a common name. There are many Appamāda suttas. Appamāda means heedfulness. Okay, so this is kind of like a double negative here. Appamāda means heedlessness. Mada means intoxication. So this word kind of builds up into a compound. Mada, Appamāda. Appamāda first, which is a negative term, and then Appamāda. The R here is a negation, meaning not. Okay, Appamāda. So means in English, if you literally translate, it means not heedlessness. So it's a bit awkward, so we translate it idiomatically to heedfulness. Or sometimes we use the word diligence. Okay, so here I use the word diligence. This is the old translation, heedfulness. Diligence is a better term. The next thing to notice is you can see the number, the reference A1015. And so A is Anguttara Nikaya, which is the fourth volume, which are called the numerical teachings. And then dot 45, dot is 15, sorry, 15 means sutta number 15. And then you have the theme. The theme is diligence is the foremost of wholesome states. This is given in brief. Now, the book of the Anguttara Nikaya deals with numbers, so you have like 1 to 11. And when Buddhism have lots of numbers, so that we can remember the teachings better. So here we are familiar with things like the 10 wholesome causes of action, 5 precepts, 4 noble truths, 3 characteristics, and so on. So if we ask ourselves, what is the one? What is the most important quality? That would be diligence, non-heedlessness. So this whole sutta only says this. Another interesting part with the sutta, it doesn't say anything else. It just says, well, this is the most important thing. And then there are 10 what I call similes or parables. These 10, they form their own sutta separately. You can see the titles given to you on page 125. But today we're going to have like an overview of them, and then I will kind of just explain what I think is the meaning behind each of these parables or similes, to help us reflect on the Dhamma for the benefit of our own practice. Now let's go straight into Sutta now. It's quite direct. Simple Sutta, page 126. The discourse on heedfulness or diligence, the tense. Now, another way to translate the English would be the tense discourse on diligence, or the tense discourse on heedfulness, A10.15. Now, in this translation, I've given what I call the subtitles for each of these 10 parables. This is to help us visually to hold on to the text, because as you know, these are early Buddhist texts. They are not the written tradition, they are an oral tradition, so lots of repetition, and these texts are meant to be heard, to be listened, rather than to be read. So once you translate them into something to read, we have to use some modern devices. So what I've done here is I've, number one, used titles, subtitles, and I've used numberings. I try to do a bit of detailed numbering, so it's easy for the teacher to point out to you which paragraph you're talking about. So sometimes this numbering doesn't follow that of the Pali Text Society edition, because the Pali Text Society edition, sometimes the numbers are, they give one number to a huge paragraph, which is not very helpful. So originally I tried to follow their system, and we have to use like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, it becomes a bit awkward. So where I can, I simply use my phone number. As you notice here, the numbers flow very nicely, the bold numbers. So brackets 1 is the Tathagata parable. Okay, so then section 1 says, bhikshus are the monks. Here we use the, what's called the anglicized word for monk. Pali is bhikkhu. Bhikshu actually is kind of a Sanskrit word, but here you can find it in an English dictionary, so we take it as an English word, bhikshu. One reason why bhikshu is better than say monk is because once you hear the word bhikshu, you know we're talking about the monks of early Buddhism. Of course, you can still use the word monks. In fact, what I do is when the Buddha is addressing the monk, I use the word bhikshu or plural bhikshus. Where they refer to the person, I use the word monks. It's easier for a modern English reader to understand. Bhikshus, as far as there are beings, whether footless, two-footed or four-footed or many-footed, whether with form or formless or conscious, or you can use the word percipient or non-percipient, or neither percipient nor non-percipient. There is a level of beings where their minds and consciousness are so subtle we can't say whether they are conscious or not. So this is a kind of one way of classifying different kinds of beings. Just look at them. You have number 1, footless. These are beings without any foot, like snakes and worms. Two-footed, like human beings. Four-footed, most animals. And many-footed, like millipedes and centipedes and so on. So this is the physical being. Then the next line, these are the, in terms of the three worlds, or the different worlds of existence. First there is the form world. Okay. We can say the first line refers to the sense world, if you like, the Kama Vachara. Then the form refers to the Rupa Vachara, or Rupa Loka. Form world, this is a jhana world, the mind is very happy in a jhanic state. Then the formless world, even higher still. The conscious or non-conscious or non-percipient. This is only one realm actually. This is called the realm of the non-percipient being. They are not conscious. They live in a kind of state where there's no mental activity at all. The moment the thought rises, they fall from that state. So this is one special state. And then the highest of the formless realms is the neither percipient nor percipient, nor non-percipient realm. Okay? So this is the last one. Actually, the last one is also included in the formless realm. Basically, here what the Sutta is trying to say, of all the beings that exist, whether they are of the sense world, form world, or formless world, the Tathagata, okay, is the Buddha calling himself. He usually addresses himself as the Tathagata. Tathagata means the dusk come one, or the dusk gone one. There are many ways of translating this interesting word. It simply means the saint, if you like. Okay? Of course, here refers specifically to the Buddha. The Tathagata is the foremost amongst them as the Arhat. Arhat in square brackets means, it explains the word before it, the worthy. Why is he worthy? Because he has defeated the internal enemies, the defilements. Okay? Fully self-awakened one. Samma Sambuddha. Okay? Samma Sambuddha. Samma means fully. Sambuddha, Sam means self, Buddha means awakened, fully self-awakened. So here, the comparisons between all the beings in the world, the Buddha is the most highly evolved, in other words. So it's not someone, the Buddha is not a prophet, it's not a god, but he starts off as a normal human being, just like you and I. The big difference is that he has evolved to such an extent that he stands out from all the other forms of life and is able to liberate us. Okay? In that sense, it's the foremost. Now here, the comparison is not, the idea is not to show the foremost state or the primacy of the Buddha. The Buddha is using this fact to point to another fact. And this is very important. I will tell you the significance in a moment. Let's read the section 2 first, or paragraph 2 first. Even so. Whenever you see even so, that means previously there was this parable, and then even so say, all right, now I'm going to say what I mean before. Even so, bhikshus, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence is declared the foremost amongst them. Right, so whatever wholesome state here wholesome is kusala. Kusala is a very popular Buddhist word, which more or less equates with English skillful. That means something that we do that helps us to move on in our individuating process, becoming a person, becoming a true individual, becoming a liberated being, becoming an arhat, or one of the stages of sainthood. In other words, basically whatever good we do, it is rooted in diligence, in heedfulness. This is the single quality we must cultivate. In other words, whatever we do, in the 3 trainings, right, whether we are keeping moral virtue, mental cultivation, or insight wisdom, all of them, you need diligence. So here we see the Buddha using his own imagery, the imagery of the Tathagata. Of all beings, the Tathagata is foremost in terms of spirituality. In terms of the Dharma, the diligence is the primary quality. What is the greater significance here? There is another sutta, which is called the Gaurava Sutta, where the Buddha declares that soon after his awakening, one of his first thoughts was, who shall I bow down to show my gratitude? So you imagine he has this deep humility, this idea that I should bow down to a teacher, I should show my respect to a teacher. Then he says, when he surveys the world with his Buddha mind, he couldn't find anyone worthy of showing the respect, someone who has more goodness, more wisdom than the Buddha. I couldn't find anyone like that. But then he still felt, this is not good enough. There must be some way I can show my gratitude for this wonderful liberation I have discovered. Then it came upon him, it is the Dharma itself, it's the Dharma that liberates us. So, therefore, I should bow, I should show my respect, Gaurava, respect, to this Dharma. In doing so, what the Buddha has done is he has put the Dharma above himself, above everyone else. In other words, it's not the Buddha who is the most important thing or name or idea in Buddhism. It is the Dharma. Because without the Dharma, there is no Buddha. In making this statement, the Buddha radically gave Buddhism the ability and the power to grow and to expand itself. It's not a person-centered teaching, not a prophet-centered teaching. In other words, if you know the Dharma, you also know the Buddha. Even though the Buddha may have passed away, the Dharma is still with us. So here you and I, we're gathered together, you're watching this videotape, you're listening to the suttas. So this is the great wisdom of our Buddha, where he is able to say, the teaching is above the teacher, it's more important than the teacher. Right? So here is another example, you can see where he uses this example, the Tathagata is the highest of beings, but in terms of good qualities, it's the diligence, is the highest of qualities. Now in the next parable is the elephant's hoofprint. Verse 3, pictures just as the footprints of any living being that walks can be placed within an elephant's hoofprint, so that the elephant's hoofprint is declared to be the foremost of them because of its great size. This is another very famous parable. In fact, there's a whole long sutta with this parable. It's called the Elephant Hoofprint Sutta, or the Sutta on the Elephant's Hoofprint parable. So imagine in the forest, this elephant has got the biggest footprint. So all the other footprint of the other animals could fit into this big footprint of the elephant. Even so, right, once you see here, verse 4 is italicized because this is called a refrain. It repeats itself, repeats something earlier. So if you find reading repeated passages a bit tedious, you can, okay, I know this one, it's already read about. So this gives you an idea, it's a repeated passage. But most monks in the monastery, especially the forest monastery, they told me that they like this complete, full translation. So in other words, they will read it as a reflection. Right? So every time there's a purpose behind the repetition. It's kind of to be reflected on again and again. Because we forget easily after we listen to the sutta, after we have read a sutta, then we forget the past, especially the repetitions. Right? We say, oh, I don't need to read this, it's kind of repeated. But it is the secret of awakening, in fact, is in the repetition, because it's telling us this is the way, this is the way, this is the way, and then so we tend to forget it. So being academic means kind of we try to remember things in a gist, as a gist, to say, oh, just a summary would be enough. Summary is not enough. In other words, when you study the sutta, it's not to remember, it's not just to remember the sutta. Remembering is important, yes. In other words, you bear it in mind. But you must let it do its work. In other words, it's like taking medicine, right? You've got to let it work. In other words, a change happens in you. We change, we are transformed by the suttas, by the Dharma. And if we just study and say, oh, I just want to remember it, it's not going to help us. In fact, we're going to form ideas and views, and that is going to hinder our progress. Interestingly, we are hindered by wrong view. So there's this big deal about views. So in a sense, you might say the Arhat or the Buddha has normal views. He's clear of views. But he has to come down to the level of the world and use language and teach us in a way we can understand. Because we need language, we need views. But then you notice, no matter how wonderful a sutta may be, when you study them, when you come to meditation, you have to forget all about them. So the suttas, in other words, help us to feel good and feel happy, so that we can let it go, so to speak. Just as we breathe in, we must also breathe out. You can't hold the breath all the time. So you breathe in the good dharma, you breathe out all the bad karma, and then you go into your meditation. So that is an example of letting go, renunciation. So this is the idea of letting go of views. So in meditation, we let go of all views. And the more you can do this, the better you can focus, meditate, and you get into your joyful states. And then you let go of the joy. There is only peace. You let go of the peace. There is this indescribable something, right? Let's just put it that way. And then you come out of it energized, your mind calm and clear. Calm, samatha, clear vipassana, both are balanced. And then that's when you apply your mind and you say, okay, what have I learned? I learned about the three characteristics. I learned about anicca, dukkha, anatta, about suffering, impermanent suffering in oneself. And they become clearer because that mind that comes out of this deep focus, this jhana or simple mindfulness, you are able to see, realize the teachings in a different way, in a new way, something called direct experience. The third parable is that of the ridgepole and rafters. So this is a building and architecture parable. This is in verse 5. Bhikshus, just as all the rafters of a house with a peak roof lead to the ridge pole, slopes towards the ridge pole, converge at the ridge pole, and the ridge pole is said to be their peak. So here you have a kind of a rooftop parable, a peak roof. So the main beam at the top is called the ridge pole, and all the other rafters kind of like ribs, they come from there, and this ridge pole is the support. If there's no ridge pole, all the rafters will collapse and the roof will collapse, and you won't have any protection. So just as the ridge pole is the main beam in the roof, supports the roof in fact, even so bhikshus, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence is declared the foremost of them. So here, in other words, if you really want to benefit from the Dharma, you have to make efforts. You have to understand that it just doesn't happen to us. You have to make this effort. The first effort is to get rid of something negative, something unwholesome that we have been doing before. Let's say, if you take in terms of the 5 precepts, you have been killing or stealing or committing sexual misconduct or lying or taking drinks and drugs. Often I might even get good smoking in it too. So you have to let go and stop doing this thing. So that's the first effort, first right effort. Then the second right effort is whatever you have not, something bad you have not done before, keep it that way. So in other words, just keep on saying no to all these negative actions. So these are the first 2 right action in terms of diligence. Then the third right effort is to cultivate what you have not done before. Let's say you never meditated before, so you learn meditation, you start doing it. So that's the third right effort. Bringing into action something you have never done before, something good you have not experienced before. And then the fourth right effort is keep it going, go on cultivating it. So these are the 4 right efforts. These are 4 ways of looking at diligence, if you like. Then there is something very interesting in terms of meditation. We might call it the effort of non-effort, if you like. Because in meditation, we start off sitting and then we try to get as comfortable as we can. Yes, that may take a bit of effort. Then you watch your breath. You direct your mind to the breath. That needs some effort. But after a while, when the mind becomes very calm, you find you cannot make too much effort, nor too little effort. It should be just nice, balanced. There are extremes on it. Some people try too hard, some people don't try at all. So we got to just do it in a middle way. In a sense, that the middle way in meditation is just to let this peacefulness arise. You cannot command, say, I want this peace to arise. Arise, peace, it won't happen. So, because when you say that, then thoughts are going on in your mind. That is why meditation teachers will tell you, if you see something really beautiful in your meditation, don't comment on it. If you experience great joy in your meditation, don't comment on it. Just let it be, let it go. And then you get peace with yourself. There is a sutta called the Cetana Karaniya Sutta. Cetana Akaraniya. Cetana means the will or intention. Akaraniya means not to make it happen. It should not be done. In other words here, there is no need for willpower once you are very calm in your meditation. Because willpower, meaning you say, I want this, I want that, you are thinking. So the idea is to simply let go of all thoughts. And the more thoughts you let go of as you meditate, what is left is feeling, or feelings. Feelings here has a special meaning in meditation. It means absence of thought. First meaning absence of thought. What's the big deal of why a thought should be absent? Because thought deals with the 5 senses. We see something, we think about it. We hear something, we think about it, and so on. So we're letting go of the 5 senses. That is why we sit very quietly. We want to deal with only the mind. But then even the mind thinks. The mind's got its own mind objects. But that's not too bad. Okay? We deal with one thing at this point, and then we slowly even let go of this thinking aspect of mind objects. We feel. So feel here means a direct experience. A direct experience. Seeing but not normal commenting. For example, when you do breath meditation, at first yes, we count the breath, that's making effort. That is to clear away immediate distractions. Then we say in, out, which is subtler, gentler. Okay. Again, here we use the word in, out so that other thoughts don't come in. But then in the third stage, the mind becomes more peaceful and your breath comes in, and there's a space, very peaceful. The breath goes out, there's a space, very peaceful. We still say in, and then the space comes, we say out, space. And then the last stage, total silence, we don't say anything. So in the last stage, it is so peaceful, we just by letting it be, we do nothing. We are just there, and we're not speaking, watching this peace, enjoying this peace. So this is samatha aspect. We need this peace in a sense to calm our minds, clear our minds. Then when we come out of this meditation, thoughts come back, but the thoughts are very clear. We can direct those thoughts in any way we like, in a good way. And that's when you use this clear mind to reflect on the various truths and realities. That's the vipassana aspect. So that's how they help each other, as the Appamāda says, like two wings of a bird. So when we meditate, we need both aspects to balance our practice. Parable number 4, Kalanusari and fragrant roots parable. Section 7. Bhikshus, just as amongst fragrant roots, Kalanusari is said to be the foremost. There's no English word for this, so we use this original term. So in other words, this is the kind of root which gives really good smell. Okay? Now, all these fragrant roots in India, there's a root called Kalanusari, the most fragrant of them, most precious of course. Even so, bhikshus, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence is declared as the foremost amongst them. So here you have the imagery of roots, the image of fragrance. Now roots, as you know, when you talk in terms of Dharma, you can say the good roots. The good roots are opposite of the bad roots. There are 3 bad roots. Akusala mula, greed, hate, delusion. Right? In other words, whenever we break the precepts or do something bad, they are rooted in either greed, hate, or delusion. So how do we know when we do something good? They are rooted in the opposite of these 3 unwholesome roots. There are 3 wholesome roots. In other words, our action is rooted in charity or generosity, rooted in loving kindness, and rooted in wisdom. So this root, fragrant in a sense, is a fragrance of goodness. As the Appamāda says, the smell even of the best flowers follow the wind. But the fragrance of moral virtue, of moral conduct, go against the wind. Meaning, to go against the wind means this person becomes famous. That the goodness is well known to others too. So this is the imagery of fragrance. So in this case, diligence is the best, it is the single primary quality we need to cultivate in order to practice all the other practices in the Dharma. Next we have the red sandalwood and hardwood. Okay, so this again, this is a fragrant piece of wood. Just now was a root. This time is the bark or the trunk itself. Verse 9. Bhikshus, just as amongst whatever hardwood is the hardest part of the tree trunk. Okay? the solid part of the tree trunk, the hardwood. Red sandalwood is said to be the foremost, and red sandalwood is very fragrant. When we go to some monasteries, they will burn sandalwood. It gives a very fragrant smell. So here again, red sandalwood is used as the example of the best of all hardwood. Even so, bhikshus, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence declared the foremost of them. So here, hardwood is also hard to get. These trees are not easy to get. In fact, what's interesting is there are stories of Indian sailors leaving India to come to what we know from the stories as Southeast Asia. So it's anywhere from Burma to Indonesia to Malaysia, which of course includes Singapore as an island also. And the trees seem to grow locally, although I've not seen such a tree. So these sailors, when they find this kind of tree, they will harvest them and bring them back to India, and they're precious and very expensive when they sell them back in India. So here is something precious. Diligence is truly precious to us in a spiritual sense. Then you come to the imagery of flowers, number 6, the jasmine and fragrant flowers parable. Bhikshus, just as among fragrant flowers, jasmine is said to be the foremost. Jasmine is a white color, so really it's got a sweet smell. And the Indians love wearing this. They will weave them into garments. And if you go to Little India in Singapore, you will surely see ladies wearing this garland of jasmine, and they are sold in quite a number of places. And the Indians will buy these flowers and make offerings to their Indian temples. The jasmine is a truly sweet flower. It's white. So even so, bhikshus, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence will declare the foremost amongst them. So here again, fragrance, flowers. Now flowers are impermanent, of course. So in other words, why is diligence so important to us? Because we get tired after a while through physical effort, mental effort. So we have to rest and keep on doing it, keep on doing it. And as we become more diligent, the window of rest becomes smaller. We need less rest. We can put in more effort. And if you've done your meditation regularly, you find you're so relaxed, you're so happy. You don't tire so easily. You need less sleep, for example. And when you work, you find you have more focus. So the diligence, in other words, arises from the good life, the truly spiritual life. Number 7 is the wheel turner and the petty princess parable. So now we have a kind of political, worldly parable. Bhikshus, just as petty princess, you can say this, the vessel kings, okay, are all vessels of the wheel-turning monarch, and the wheel-turning monarch is declared to be the foremost amongst them. Even so, bhikshus, of all the wholesome states, diligence is the foremost. This is a very interesting concept in India. Scholars are still not very sure how this idea arose. My theory is that this idea of the wheel-turning monarch, the universal emperor, probably arose because of Alexander the Great's influence. Because Alexander, as you know, came around the time of the Buddha, within a few centuries after the Buddha. So the monks began to compile all these stories about the universal monarch. Alexander had such a great influence on the ancient world. So there is this idea of one great king who rules a huge area, an empire. There are many other smaller kingdoms. So there are so many other kings, and yet of all these kings, the greatest is the Chakravati, the world emperor, the wheel-turning monarch, as he is called. So even so, all the other good qualities, of all the good dharmas, diligence is the most important that we need to cultivate, because of the the effect, the power that it has to make us cultivate good, just like the world monarch controls all the other kings. Then you have parable number 8, moonlight and stars parable. So now we're kind of going out of the world to the skies now. Verse 15. Pictures just as the light of all the stars do not amount to a 16th or an iota of moonlight, and moonlight is declared to be the foremost amongst them. Even so, diligence is the foremost of all the good states. So here we have a bit of a Pali idiom, or Indian idiom if you like. A 16th of something, right? So in English we say an iota. Iota is the letter I in Greek. The Greek alphabet is the smallest letter, a little dot if you like. In other words, if you look at the night sky, there's the full moon. The little stars are kind of dim, you can't really see them very well. Only when the moon is not present and you see all the stars. They're really bright and beautiful. But once the moon is full, you see those little stars kind of, they're just twinkling a bit, not very brightly. The moonlight is truly bright. You really need to see this on a full moon night. It's beautiful. Right? So this parable refers to the beautiful moonlit night, like Vesak night, some full moon night where the moon shines really bright, and the whole landscape can be seen so clearly. We're talking about natural landscape. In Singapore, you have too many buildings, so you don't see this. So the moon here represents the foremost of light in the night. And this moon is just like diligence. Darkness is ignorance, if you like, so we have to fight off ignorance. And then darkness, so this diligence is like the moonlight shining in the dark, showing us which direction to go. So it's the foremost light, foremost quality that we need to cultivate in our practice. And we're nearing the end of the list of parables. Number 9, the autumn sun. So again here, it's a sky parable. Pictures just as in autumn, when the sky is clear, free of rain clouds, the sun going through space, dispelling darkness, shines and burns and beams. Even so, pictures, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence is declared the foremost amongst them. So now we have this in the daytime. Foremost light is the sun. The Buddha is sometimes said to be the son of mankind, the kinsman of the sun, Aditya Bandhu. So the sun represents the light that gives us life. So to diligence is the quality that gives life to all the other good qualities. So we need to cultivate diligence first and foremost, and all the rest. Then we come to the last parable, the great rivers and ocean parable. But we come back to us, so to speak, right? And this time is the most part of the earth, the waters. Because just as whatever great rivers there are, that is to say, the Ganges, the Yamuna, the Acharavati, the Sarabi, the Mahi, these are the 5 great Indian rivers. They all flow into the ocean, bend towards the ocean, slope towards the ocean, tends toward the ocean. And the great ocean is said to be the foremost amongst them. Even so, pictures, whatever wholesome states there are, all of them are rooted in diligence, converge on diligence. Diligence is declared to be the foremost amongst them. So here you have the ocean parable. All these great rivers flow into the ocean. And this ocean is the key image. That is diligence. Diligence is what changes us to be awakened, to be free from suffering. The ocean parable is very popular in early Buddhism. For example, you have in the Vinaya, The Buddha uses the ocean parable to say, for example, to show how the Sangha, when the four, any member from the four classes, whether it's a Kshatriya, a nobleman, a Brahmin or priest class, or the merchant class, or the working class, when they become monks, they all become one. There's no more class, they're just monks. So just like the four great rivers, in this case the four rivers, flow into the great ocean. They have names as rivers, but once the water goes into the ocean, they all lose their name. They just simply call the ocean. And so you have another beautiful parable there. So here, the ocean also represents great quantity, plenty. So our effort is just like that. You put in your effort and you benefit from the greatness, the plenty of the Dharma. So there are your 10 parables. The Buddha reminding us, in other words, to put in every effort that we can. In fact, if you remember, the very last message of the Buddha before he passed away has to do with diligence. He says, Appamāda Sutta. It's like an instruction, Sampadita. Sampadita means put in effort. Appamāda is actually the kind of overlap the words that they mean the same. Cultivate diligence, right? Or do not be heedless, or be heedful. All things are impermanent, the Buddha says, just before he passed away. All things in this world are impermanent. Cultivate diligence. That is the single most important dharma that we need to practice. The moment you start sitting down, you are diligent in letting go of your body. Then you watch your breath. You are diligent in watching your breath. You are letting go of distractions. Then comes the peace. Then comes the wisdom. So all these are stages of diligence. So I hope this reflection will help us put in more effort in our moral training, our mental training, and wisdom training, the 3 trainings of the Buddha's teaching. Okay, with that we close our study. We'll do a short reflection, as usual. Today the Dharma is still with us. If we take enough trouble, we always find translations of the suttas, or if we can learn some Pali, we can read the suttas in the original language. That gives us a very wonderful understanding of the Buddha's teachings, closest that we can find to the Buddha's time. Next important thing is to understand all these teachings, what they mean, what they point to. And in the spirit of today's reflection, they all point to diligence, making the right effort in our practice. So we have to be diligent in looking for the true teachings also. And then doing our own practice to realize for ourselves what is right and true, so that we are liberated from ignorance and suffering, to be awakened like the Buddha, or at least attaining stream winning in this life itself. Reflecting in this way is very good mental karma. With the power of such karma, may we be well and happy right now, right here, as we live and work and practice the Buddha's teaching. By the same token, by all these good deeds we have done, practicing the Dharma, practicing charity, and many other good deeds, by the power of all these good deeds, may we attain spiritual liberation in this life itself, at least to aspire to stream winning. In this moment of peace, let us entitle our loving kindness to all the beings here, to everyone here, to our loved ones, to all those who are teaching the Dharma, that they may be well and happy. and also to those whom the Dharma have not touched, that they may find peace within themselves and wisdom to liberate themselves. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.